what I find fascinating with tech is it used to be exciting about, what new initiatives they had planned and what were their new growth projects, but now it's all about cost cutting. It's like legacy tech.
We certainly aren't used to talking about layoffs for these companies. These are companies that couldn't hire enough people as recently as a year and a half ago. And yet every one of them except Apple, of the ones we may be talking about, have had layoffs of substantial size, many of them still underway.
Right, and that's the one thing that does impress investors, right, Katie?
Yeah, it seems like that has been the focus for the earnings season, not just in tech, but it seems like other sectors as well. Cost cutting seems to be in vogue. But when we talk about the innovation, of course, we have to talk about AI, because there is a ton of buzz around AI. And David, I mean, as with anything, the big question is, how do you monetize this?
The thing about AI is nobody knows the answer to any questions surrounding it, including the people that are designing it. That's what's so amazing. But I do believe AI will be a huge consumer benefit in search, in the operation of all these companies at both the kind of internal corporate guts level as well as the consumer services level. So look, this is a fantastic piece of progress for all of us. But it's happened so fast lately, particularly with textual generative AI, that we're all reeling. I think Microsoft's move to sort of get out in front was amazingly interesting, but I think it makes them somewhat vulnerable. Now, Google, I think, really was caught unawares by that and has been spinning their wheels a little since then, but I think they're going to do very well with it as well.
What about Meta, or formerly Facebook? Because they bet big on the metaverse, and no one's really talking about the metaverse anymore. It's all about AI.
Well, in fact, Meta has Jan LeCun and a huge AI research and product development organization, and they are using it already in many, many parts of their business. It's not as evident as it is, say, with Bing, but they will be one of the leaders. They are one of the leaders. And in fact, Jan LeCun, when I hear him talking publicly, I think he's possibly the most articulate, smartest AI researcher in the world. So Meta Facebook is a major player here, even though because they're not in search, they don't get into the discussion between Google and Microsoft the same way.
Okay, shareholders have rewarded Meta this year every time Mark Zuckerberg talked about cutting costs and efficiency.
I know.
Are they willing
it annoys
to?
Me.
Are they going to give him the benefit of the doubt if he says that they're going to spend or invest in things like AI?
I think the market will applaud moves to spend more on AI for Facebook, Meta, yes. I mean, it has been distressing to me, frankly, the way that stock has boomed in response to layoffs. It seems intrinsically inhumane on the one hand. Also, so many of the fundamental problems that Facebook faces have not been addressed. And I mentioned in the note I sent you guys earlier that, Frances Haugen was in the midst of her revelations, and all these media organizations all over the world were publishing these horribly negative, detailed accounts of failures and even illegalities. And that's the moment they changed the name and announced, it's the metaverse. I did not like that, and I still think that was dishonest.
But on the name change, I think Scarlett asks a great question. We know that investors had been getting frustrated with how much money they were funneling into those metaverse applications. And if, now they have a chance to be a leader in AI, do you think that the focus could shift, or are they too married to the metaverse?
Mark is married to the metaverse, but he might suppress that for a while. I think he knows the market and public sentiment will be much more positively responsive to moves around AI. And talking about the metaverse is just not a benefit for him right now. So he's not going to talk about it as much.
So you're saying he's going to be opportunistic, which I guess makes a lot of sense.
He is very opportunistic.
Yes, that's right. Let's talk about Apple, which I know doesn't report earnings next week, but will in the week after. It, as you said, has not laid off regular employees. And in fact, it's making a lot of headlines with its high-yield savings account that it's launched with Goldman Sachs. And I take it this is all about making sure that it keeps people locked into its ecosystem and makes sure that they are tied to the upgrade cycle.
Well, it's making some money from it, because I'm sure Goldman pays Apple a hefty fee for each person that signs up for the credit card. Goldman itself is losing an estimated $1 billion a year on that card, according to some reports. Goldman's whole consumer financial services business has not been doing that great. But I think as a obsessive Apple customer myself, I must confess, that card and Apple Pay is a massive win for them and for me as their customer and for many, many tens, hundreds of millions of others. It is, I think, one of the services move at Apple is their central change. This, people say they're not innovative, but they have actually innovated in services hugely. Just because they don't have a new digital physical product, and of course their physical products are still spectacular, continually iterating to improve them. We all buy them over and over again, but their services, including their financial services, are very innovative and profitable.